The Standout Artist Podcast, showcasing the most unique and innovative musicians of Austin, Texas. Brought to you by entrepreneur and professional drummer Andy Jeffs. Stay tuned and stand out.
I wanted to get into how I know you, and that's obviously the WTF All-Star Open Jam session every Tuesday night, 7:30.
Yes, sir.
Dude, you started in the middle of a goddamn pandemic.
Yeah,
when
the jam. Yeah, I started the jam in the middle of the pandemic.
When
yeah,
no
absolutely.
one was playing music.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much no one. There was some music, but it was very locked down. Most places were being quite tight and shut down. Like, what was going through your head when you decided to start an open jam session in the middle of the pandemic? Like, were there any doubts? Like, what were you thinking?
I was thinking. I need some money, and
Fair.
I mean, I needed something. I was missing playing, and
Yeah.
you know, those days it was just enter at your own risk. The bar had, everyone needed to be seated, everyone to wear masks. There was all these different things going on. So, the players I was playing with were cool with it. Some of them wore masks, some of them didn't. It was just like, it's kind of up to what everyone's discretion. We all followed the rules in terms of wearing masks when you're not seated, but in terms of playing, some people were wearing masks the whole time, you know? So it was it's your own risk. Everyone at WTF was interested in really trying to build a music scene, against all odds. And it worked out just because they were really open and on board with my vision, which was the whole concept was we were going to bill it as Trevor O'Connor and Friends at first. And then from there, I was inviting all my, my musician friends who I knew were badasses. And then the concept was from there, we had a nice base of musicians. Then we were going to switch the format to, okay, it's an open jam now. But we wanted to, you kind of want to set the precedent. So when people walk in, they see, a really badass band playing, we have to kind of set the precedent in terms of you don't want people showing up and being like, hey, can I get up on myself and play Trip, the GM at WTF likes to always reference Wonderwall as the song that he hates.
Or Free Falling.
Yeah, he's
classics,
it's not really that format. The format is to get up with a band, and you can play whatever you want, but you have to be able to get up and kind of navigate with a band.
Right.
And it's a really good skill set to have. And me and Andy, my bass player, both have a lot of experience teaching. So we will take time to give people valuable pointers on how to run a band. Right. So the whole concept came together because they were willing to work with me and let me, do the format the way I want to do it. And as a result, it kind of built into a really organic, natural thing that I think is cool. It's become quite a friggin' monster. I mean, I had to have my buddy Taylor start running a list for me. Yeah. I did it without a list at first, and then it just got too insane. Too many players, and people were getting skipped and stuff. So I was like, because I try not to do a list, but when it gets too crazy like that, you have to, because then people start getting skipped, and it's not because I'm oh, I don't know you, I don't want you to play. It's just because I have so many names in my head, and I can't remember everyone. So
I remember the days when there was no list. It was just you were just remembering everyone.
It was a disaster.
And doing pretty well at it, to be honest. Everyone felt cared for.
It was a disaster. It was cool for a while, and but I'm terrible at memorizing names, and the list helped me a lot. Put faces with names, especially when we made them add their Instagram. So our director of operations, Austin Talley, was always taking videos.
Is he the one that uploads it to the Instagram?
Yeah, he's really busy. He's in I think he's doing the Air Force right now. Okay. So he's really busy with his duties with that. Or maybe I can't remember. He's been every branch of the military. So he's a military man. Thank you, Austin Talley. He's out there doing his thing. So he's busy with his commitments with that. So he's not always there anymore. But that's just cool. We got a lot of cool characters, a lot of really hardworking, creative people that do a lot. They don't just work at a bar, they're always branching out into other things of like creativity and otherwise. And but yeah, so we would make these Instagram videos and post them and tag people, and it was cool because I saw a lot of bands kind of form out of the jam. Like I'd see like a band get up, like 4 random strangers, and then like next week it'd be like, oh, this is the band playing here, and they're like a band now, and I'm like, oh, cool, like that's dope that people can come to this and find something.
It's amazing. I mean, I've lived in many different cities all over pretty much most of North America, and I've checked out open jam sessions, open mic nights, and I've just never seen anything quite like the open jam session. And I'm wondering, like, why do you, I mean, have you experienced many open jams in like other cities and stuff like that? Like, or is,
it's so the whole concept of an open jam is tough because you have to keep it completely open. So, but the reason why I navigated the way I did is because, you kind of lead by example, in terms of you show them the format and you show them the caliber of players first, ideally, so that you want to keep the bar high, but you also want to open it up to have people who are, novice or just getting started come up, but they need to get to a point where they can get up and play with a band, you know? So a lot of jams will have like a badass running it, and he'll kind of he or she will invite their friends, and sometimes it gets a little too, clicky, and they don't let everyone get up, and, and that's a lot of the case just because they want good people to get up. But the thing I think that's cool about our jam is we kind of welcome so many newcomers, and they get a really, I think, awesome first impression of Austin. They walk in, they get on stage, and they get to play with like my backing band, which is a bunch of badasses, and they're all really cool dudes and like really easygoing. So they get up, they have a great experience, and they're like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And then they're, incentivized to be like, "Oh man, this is where I want to be. This is a good move for me. I want to play music here." And I mean, there's some merit to going to a jam and getting your ass kicked and going home and practicing.
Yeah, I mean, it's even going to make you or break you, right? You're going to go home and quit music or keep coming back.
But some people are far enough along where they might have stuff to work on, but they have something to offer right off the bat. And other players that are kind of at their level will see them on stage and be like, "Oh, I want to play with that guy."
So can I give you my personal experience at like 2 different, like your open jam and another open jam?
Yeah,
I was at, right?
Absolutely.
So this is the difference between your open jam and other open jams. So when I was living in New York, Manhattan, I used to go to this jam. I think it was called Producer Mondays, something like that. It was at this like really shit hot place where all of like the world musicians kind of go. They got like all the jazz chops, all the jazz fusion chops, right? Yeah. And everyone's just gets up there, and I come in, and there's 10 drummers lined up at the against the wall, like festering towards the drum kit, like waiting to have their moment, right? And it's not like yours where people do like cover songs, they do their own songs. It's all just free fall kind of
freeform,
improvisation stuff. And I don't think I was able to get up the first time because there were just so many drummers that were waiting to show off their chops, and no one knew me. No one was really welcoming there at all. But the time that I did get up there, I was probably up there for like a minute. Yeah. And then the host literally like almost dragged me off the drum kit. Like was just like, "Hey, my body's gonna go on now. Like my bro is gonna go on now, right now." Yeah. And I remember that moment being so humiliating for me. I was like, "Man, I'm around all these great musicians. I finally get my moment, and I just like get ripped off. Like I thought, oh, am I a shit player?" And granted, I definitely wasn't the best musician in the room at the time. I had a lot of work to do. And all these drummers were so technically talented, and the aim of the game was play as much as you can and be as showy off as you can when you get on that stage, right? And then I come to WTF, right? And you're the first person that speaks to me when I walk into the jam, and you're like, "Yo, dude, are you up next?" And that was like just night and day for me. It was like, whoa. Instead of getting dragged off in a minute of me being on there and no one really paying any attention to me, you come up to me and it's just like, just all love, and it's all like, "Hey man, you're welcome to go up there," encouraging, shaking names. And it's just like, man, that's such a undervalued, like underappreciated quality of just people in general, really. But I think especially in a music scene where there's a lot of like, you know, personalities and egos and stuff like that. Like, it's so important to have that welcoming vibe. And I just really appreciate that when I walked in, and I can see how that affects just everyone else in the music scene as well. Like, I've seen so many people that just moved to Austin, right? Everyone's always moving to Austin these days, right? And I think that place really does serve as a, just, you know, a place where it's like, hey, you're welcome. Everyone's on the same playing field here.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I think I learned a long time ago that you know, like, who really gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, you get up there, you could play like Thomas Pridgeon or like some crazy gospel chops, like.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if the band sounds good and it's a good tune and people are having fun, it's a moment that people remember, and they're having a good time, and that's really what it's all about. It's like I don't really buy into that whole like you know, there's some musicians where I'm around, I'm like, oh, this guy's a badass, you know, I look up to them. But like a lot of them, those guys are cool because they're like they're over it, you know. They're like I love playing music. I work on it hard, and like I get on stage, and that's when I'm a badass. That's when I'm serious. But we're having a beer and just talking music, like
that's it.
It doesn't need to be this like, oh, who does that guy know, and like who does he work with? It's like, who gives a shit?
No
like,
one gives a shit.
It's who cares?
and that was the thing. Like, I don't think I came in with any kind of like, you know, ego necessarily when I walked into WTF. But one thing I did bring in was a lot of bad habits from going to those fucking jams in New York. Yeah. And I had all of these chops, and I was like trying to like play too much. I knew I was playing too much. I still play too much. It's like, you've gotten so much better, dude. Thanks. Yeah, no, you actually. I think me and Andy were giving you some advice or something. Okay. I think we just told you to just play less fills because you asked us. So we were like, oh, cool. Right. This is a wonderful like teachable moment, like where it wasn't like me like yanking you off and being like, listen, man, you were like, hey, man, do you have any like feedback? And then the next couple of weeks you came back and you like reined it in, and your groove was a lot better, and you sounded great playing with the band. And that's kind of like one of the things that me and Andy, since we teach a lot, we talk about a lot, that we really are adamant about with our jam is you know like if somebody wants advice and they want feedback, like we give it to them in you know the most honest way, like the most practical way, like. Like, hey, if you want to, you know, be a drummer and play in a band, like, you know, just focus on making your pocket a little better, your groove a little better. Yeah. And then once that's good, that's when you can, you know, focus on fills. But it's stuff like that just makes it makes it kind of worthwhile to just see people coming back and getting better. It's just dope because, and then, you know, they're part of the family. They keep coming back every week, and everyone's having a good time when they play, and it's just it's an awesome experience in that regard. Right, definitely. And I really appreciate the feedback, and I'll keep on coming back for it because it's so valuable. Because we're the worst judge of our own talent and skills. Like we just Dunning-Kruger effect. I don't know if you're familiar with that kind of thing, where basically people who are like really, really good at something drastically underestimate how good they are, and then people that are really not great at things tend to really overestimate. That's definitely true. Like I see that a lot of the jam too. Dude, it's science. Like it's a literal thing. God bless them. You get a lot of people who come up and they're just like, I can sing and I can play, and they get up and they're just like completely oblivious to like what's going on around them, and you're like, well, God bless them. Dude, and that's the thing about the jam. Like I remember there's just this one drummer that comes in every once in a while. It's just like it sounds like a fucking drum case falling down the stairs. Yeah, but everyone loves it, and no one's really like necessarily talking shit or anything about that. But it's a good laugh, and it's it's just, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, and that's another part of it. You know, and that's one of the things that, you know, I talked to my band about. It's like, where do you draw the line? Because you know, like I don't like that the person that you might be referring to, you know, say they come once a week and they play once a week, and like that's the highlight of their week. Yeah, you know, so it's like, who am I to be like, like, hey man, like, you know, you can't get back up. Sorry. Like, I think that's why it's important to have those teachable moments, and maybe just be like, hey, like, Yeah.
Did you notice that you were struggling with this groove? Like maybe you could be a little less busy with the kick drum or so on and so forth.
Totally.
That's where I have to like think about my responsibility as like the host, like, because like the person might not even notice that they're playing like that, and the other people playing with them sometimes could be like frustrated, and so that's probably where it's tricky when you let everyone get up and play. But I think it's overall the good outweighs the bad for sure.
Definitely. I mean, it's worth it. You're pretty much holding the music scene in Austin together right now. I feel like, because I've been to other kind of open mics, open jams, all of that, but that one's the one where something's really happening there. It's going towards something. People are working together. Stuff is coming out of it. I don't know. I'd be curious to hear, like, what's one story that has come out of the WTF jams? Like, what's like one maybe band that's formed, or one thing that's come out of it that you've just been like, wow, that's really cool.
That's a good question. There's been a handful of bands just because we have a lot of transplants coming in, and they hear about the jam, because I think our reputation is really good in terms of like go see this guy Trevor, he'll let you get up, like absolutely. And so I do, and then I mean at this point it's got to be like almost 10 bands that have formed out of this jam. And maybe right? When you post this, you can pose that question, like, who's willing to admit it that they came to my jam, and who's not too proud to be like, hey, I met all my guys or girls at a Trevor's open jam. Because they're out there. I can name names, but I'd rather people talk for themselves.
Do you feel like there's one thing that's maybe been a bit of a struggle with the whole open jam? Has there been any like tough moments, like tough decisions you had to make, or just things that you've had to grow as a person with it?
Yeah, it's it's all the normal stuff like the jam. Like, you try to be fair and without offending people. But like sometimes I have to I felt bad, but I kind of like had to give someone the business about I said 2 songs. They did like a medley, a treadly, 3 songs. It was like 3 full songs. And it's like, stuff like that. It's like, it's a 3-hour slot, and we have a hard cutoff at 10:30.
Right.
Thanks to lovely sound enforcement. In Austin. We love you guys.
Cheers to you guys.
Yeah, cheers. They love us, trust me. Because we're rocking 7 nights a week, and that's okay. So that's the biggest challenge, is our 10:30 curfew.
Right.
And I try to be the last one that plays, so I can shut the band down right at 10:30.
Right. And
when I do that, it's super fun. If the drummer is knows what's up and is on board with me. Yeah. Like my buddy Saint Germain. He's a drummer
shout out to Saint Germain.
Sean. He's a monster. He plays with Extra Billy.
Great band.
Anyway, I really enjoy when I have to cut it at 10:30 with him, because he looks at the clock and he looks at me and he looks at the clock and he like drags out his fill, right, and the second it hits 10:30, he ends it, and we both like it's like a little game. But when other people, especially if you have someone who's not as experienced as kind of calling the end of a song with a band, it gets stressful, because then I have like the sound team looking at me like, wrap it up or we're gonna get a ticket, and like
like the sound people just like waiting around the corner, just like 3 seconds.
And I've gotten much better about shutting it down at 10:30, but in the beginning, you try to be nice about it.
Is that every night of the week as well? Like every?
It's Sunday through Wednesday. Thursday's 11, and then Friday, Saturday is midnight.
All right.
So and Friday, Saturday isn't as problematic because it's just there's so much noise on the street. You can't really discern who's making it, because it's just Friday, Saturday night, and there's a million bars on the West. The other thing is people jamming too long, like in general, like they'll pick like 2 like Grateful Dead songs or something, and it'll turn into, or like 2 like slow blues, for example. So I'm not saying if anyone listens like from the jam. I'm not saying I don't want you to do slow blues, but it's either you're gonna do like 2 5-minute songs, or you could do 1 10-minute slow blues if you want. But that's the thing. You know, every extra minute you take is taking, you know, time away from someone else. So on the back end, I have to cut some people, which is always a bummer, especially if they're like new. That's always a big bummer for me when I don't get the new people up. But you know, shit happens. You try to be fair to everyone and get everyone on, but unfortunately, sometimes it just the way the night goes. You know, you get a lot of people who maybe play a little too long, and they're, you know, I get it. Like, you're up there, it's your slot, you're jamming, you're feeling it with the people you're playing with, and you kind of lose track. But
hey, man, you do your best, and I've been there so many times since I've lived here for almost coming up to my 1-year anniversary now, and it's like, I think you do a brilliant job. So keep on doing what you're doing. Let me ask you: do you feel like when you started the jam to where you see it now, is it exactly how you envisioned it? Is it completely different? Like, what is it for you? Like, it's
kind of become a bigger machine than I had anticipated.
Yeah, bigger than you expected.
Yeah, I thought it'd be more of a hang, and it is. I've come to get to know, like, you know, so many awesome people. So it's still totally a hang, but it's a little too busy for me to like really hang. You know what I mean? I'm walking around, I'm like talking to people. You know, I'm talking to Taylor about the list, and shout out to Taylor. She does a great job with the list.
Taylor.
She definitely and her and I have the same, you know, issues with trying to get, you know, everyone to kind of obey the rules, what have you. I mean, but it's definitely become a much bigger thing than I thought, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I think
we have to open up a second one soon.
Yeah, right. 2 locations.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. So moving forward here. So I love talking about the jam. I could talk about it all day, but getting into a little bit about what you do outside the jam. I've got 2 bands right now. Any more that popped up since I last spoke to you, or is it just Dr. Scientist and Bag Lady?
I also play guitar for Zach Day right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Zach. And I forget, I met him at WTF.
For the first time you came.
Yeah. We're called Zach Day of the Texas Horse Pirates. So I guess
nice.
I'm technically a Texas Horse Pirate. I play guitar with him, which is a lot of fun.
I play drums on that?
I don't. He plays drums with Zach. Right now, Zach's got a couple different drummers, but you know, based on their availability. But Luis is definitely still in the mix. And that was a lot of fun. Bag Lady is, you know, obviously the band that runs the open jam, or I guess we're known as the WTF All Stars when we do that.
Right. Yeah.
That's my band, Bag Lady, and then Dr. Scientist is, you know, has always been my baby. That's my rock band, and that's kind of like, you know, what I grew up, you know, loving to play, and that's the one that I probably spend the most time on these days. I love them, you know, same but different. You know, both bands.
What is the difference, like, in styles and, I guess?
Yeah, so
tastes,
Dr. Scientist is a little more like stylistic, like alternative rock. You know, inspired by a lot of punk and, like, you know, old school emo stuff. So like the parts are a little more specific. It's not really a band where I can kind of call tunes, because there's a lot of like feel changes and like from halftime to cut time, stuff like that. Like a lot of like pop punk tricks, stuff like that. And then Bag Lady and Dr. Scientist is a trio, and then Bag Lady is more kind of, I would say, like twangy, kind of rootsy, funky, a little more open-ended. The songs, like chord-wise and stuff, are a little simpler, and the structure is a little simpler, so it's easier for me to kind of, if I need to get a sub or something in the band, it's easier for me to call the tunes on the fly. As a result, you know, it's kind of a different caliber musician. Like we work a lot more on the back end, learning songs with Dr. Scientist and getting them like tight and very specific. With Bag Lady, it's like a bunch of really good players who kind of do a lot more improvising. So as a result, we kind of jam a little more with Bag Lady, and And it's fun because the show kind of just goes where it goes. Like we have our originals, but then we'll call some cover tunes. A lot of times I'll just call them on the fly, and it's like a few chords, and then we just go from there. And my drummer, Chris Trafton in Bag Lady, is really good at controlling the dynamics and kind of him and I are really good at communicating like where the song is going. Like if we want to start rocking it out or get chill, kind of stuff like that.
Totally. So it kind of seems like Dr. Scientist is more planned, and then Bag Lady is more laid back, but you're still able to just like express. That's cool. So is that kind of you planned it when you were starting both of those bands? You're like, oh, okay, I want one band where I'm going to be super specific, and then the other band's just going to be more chill and laid back, or did it just kind of happen like that with two bands? Like, why the two bands? I mean, why not just one?
I just got really into like old school country. Like at some point, I got really into Hank Williams Sr. He's my favorite country artist, and then I started picking up an acoustic and like playing a harmonica. And I recorded a record before I moved to Austin with a bunch of different people. It was kind of just like me working out my kind of rootsier ideas with some other musicians, and turned into a full record. And when I came to Austin, I met Billy Boswell, who's the lead guitarist in Bag Lady.
Badass.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
And he's doing a lot of cool stuff with Tyler McCullum right now, and I don't even know what else. He's a busy boy.
He's in like what, 5? I mean, every like one of the main guys at WTF are in like 5 bands.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
No, and it's cool because like it's funny. Like they'll see him play, and they're like, "Oh, I gotta get that guy." And it's like we all gotta eat. So like I love that we could all just kind of bounce around and play with different people and make some money and have some fun, and that's always awesome. So I met Billy. He was playing at a friend's bar with his old band, Gasoline Boots, which is another great band.
They're still moving forward, those guys.
I don't know if they're playing these days very much, but
just like
they have some great music out there. Gasoline Boots, check them out. That was Billy's, like he was the lead songwriter and lyricist and singer and guitarist. But yeah, I met him playing at a friend's bar, and I was talking to him outside, and I was like, I know you don't know me like at all. Like I just moved, or I'm moving here, but like I really like you to play in my band. And he's like, all right, send me your stuff. And like, I'm like, he's not gonna listen to my shit. There's like no fucking way. Like he's just gonna be like, who's this asshole from New Jersey wants to play music with me? Right. So I'm like, all right. I sent him my music. And then lo and behold, a few weeks later, he's like, hey man, listen to your Bag Lady stuff. I really love it. He's like, let's play in a band together. Yeah. And I'm like, cool. So it started out with him and I playing as a duo on Dirty Six at Chugging Monkey and Dizzy Rooster and Friends.
Sound like great places.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. I cut my teeth for sure in those spots. And it started out with me playing an acoustic guitar with my loop pedal and Billy playing leads. And we did that for a while, and finally got a band together with Chris Trafton on drums, who I randomly met when I was visiting Austin before I moved here at a jam at the Skylark Lounge. Okay. We just happened to jam together, and he was just like, I like the way you play, man. He's like, you have a lot of soul. And I'm like, cool, man. And he was like, hit me up when you come to town. He's like, I want to play a show with you. And when I was in New Jersey, like everything, and I was playing a lot with Dr. Scientist, so everything was very rehearsed. So he was like, let's just play a show. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, it's not that simple. Like, but it is. Like, now that I'm like comfortable with it. Right. And then I met Andy Timberg, who's the bass player, also an amazing guitarist for Tomar and the FCs. They're a ridiculously good band.
I don't think I've seen them yet, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, you got to check them out. He and I worked together at Band-Aid School of Music, and so
is that in Austin?
Yeah, that's in Austin.
Okay, and you both teaching
South
like guitar and stuff
we were both teaching a little everything.
Nice. You still teach?
Not really these days. Like I taught for about like 10 years, so I guess I'm taking like a little break from it. But I think I always have that. In me, like the wanting to impart knowledge upon someone. When I can,
You find a perfect way to do that with a jam, hey?
I mean, it kind of in a way, like it still allows me to do that a little bit, which is cool. But yeah, Andy, I heard my bag lady stuff, and
Yeah.
I was telling him I needed a bassist, and I just knew he was a great musician. He was like, I want to play bass in this band, and I was like, perfect. Yeah, you're hired.
Nice.
Like, because I heard him play, and he was playing guitar, but just sometimes you could just tell by the way people carry themselves. Like, I could tell he would, even if he wasn't like super proficient at bass, that he would be soon enough. Because I never heard him play bass before, but yeah, I was like, I could tell this dude's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and then that was the band, and then I was going through like not lineup changes, but like going through a lot of different subs and stuff because the guys got busy and stuff. And I feel like now we're at a point where like I feel like 100% confident. Like those are my main guys, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because that's like who I wanted to be the whole time. And yeah, so like as a result of playing with these guys, and also just having to call subs a lot of the time, and having to be like malleable and kind of get on my feet and being able to run a band in a way where when people are on stage they feel comfortable and they're able to perform well without like, because sometimes if you call a tune that's like really complicated on the fly, and it's kind of a bummer, because then the band's like trying to think really hard, trying to make sure they play it right, as opposed to just being like, all right, here's the groove and 3 chords the whole time, and that's it. So as a result, I kind of got way better at improvising, and I realized that was like what was kind of missing from Dr. Scientist. So it was kind of nice to have that. Dr. Scientist could still like whenever we do 3-hour gigs or whatever, like money gigs, we still play like random stuff and we'll jam, and I'll take a solo for friggin' ever to kill time. But ideally, like on a typical Dr. Scientist show, we play our tunes, maybe like 1 or 2 covers, like, and Bag Lady was a nice escape for me. Kind of like I guess I kind of wanted to be like the band My Morning Jacket, where they have really good tunes, but they also like can jam, and it's always like really fun to watch live.
It sounds like you also got an opportunity to just like learn from some other musicians as well, like you're working with Andy and Billy and stuff. I guess like, did they just push you as a musician to get better and like improvising skills?
I always believe in trying to be the worst musician in the room whenever you have a band. I think that's always a good thing to aim for. But they definitely all taught me a lot. Like Billy always made me want to step up my guitar playing, even Andy, and just rhythmically.
How do they do that? How do they like make you step up?
Just by being badasses. And we'll geek out and talk about stuff, or we'll work on stuff, or and I'll ask Andy a million questions about everything, and he always has a really solid answer for me. And I think it was this like we were doing "Kissing My Love" by Bill Withers, and I was like trying to get the guitar part down. And he was just like basically giving me a guitar lesson, while we were learning it, which was badass. And like those are situations where like when I was younger, and when a lot of people were younger, you're like, oh, this is embarrassing because I'm the guitarist, blah, blah, blah. But like as you get older and you have a badass who's willing to play bass, who's literally a better guitarist than you, like just take advantage of that shit. Yeah, show me how to do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, tight. And then I'm like, all right, I got it now.
Right.
And then Trafton's just a monster on drums, so I think he's just like, I've always been a pretty solid rhythm player, but like I think I've gone even better just from working with him. And when you work with a drummer enough, you kind of know kind of like where their head's at, when they're going to change the feel, when they're going to bring it back. So him and I have kind of, I think, developed a really good rapport in that sense. But I hope ideally you always want to be learning from your peers and your band members. And
that's the beautiful thing about bands, right? You just get to be with your friends, but also like learn from them.
And that's a big part of it too. I mean, ideally you want to have the best band you can, but like sometimes it's better to have, instead of having like the best drummer in town, you could have a great drummer who's also just a great hang and is a good fit for the band.
Almost more important in some cases.
You don't want to have someone who's like, oh, well, I'm in 45 projects, so like I'm just doing this for the money.
Yeah.
And if your project's like that, that's fine. Like if you just want hired guns to show up and play the songs exactly like it, nothing wrong with that. But yeah, for my bands, I definitely, I need to have a good hang. Like definitely need to hang out with good dudes.
Yeah. I mean, how do you find yourself in two bands like that? Because it sounds like you're really happy. Like you're really stoked that you're in two bands that kind of feed different parts of you, so to speak. Like how do you end up in those bands? Like I know a lot of it is luck, but like if you had to maybe lay it out to someone, like here's how you end up in some really sick bands that you're stoked about, like what would you say to that person?
I mean, it takes time. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of patience.
Right.
And I think the patience part is learned when something comes together kind of organically. Like with Dr. Sinus, I had a couple of different lineups. The current one kind of came together very organically. Jeff, my drummer, is my roommate. He's a drummer, so for some reason we had never really played together that much when we first moved in together. And my best friend Andrew, who's my bassist, he's a guitarist, and he was like, "Hey, I forgot we're doing like a Say Anything cover set for this like emo Halloween show." And he's like, "Can you play it with me, please?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I played bass, he played guitar, and so we need a drummer. So I was talking to my roommate. I'm like, I need to find a drummer for the Say Anything set. And then I'm like, oh yeah, why don't you do it? You play drums and like you're into the same shit that I am. Like I know you love Say Anything. And he's like, oh, in a week I gotta learn all these songs. I'm like, hell yeah, let's just do it. I just made him do it.
Right.
It was a blast. We had a lot of fun, and it was funny because kind of worked out that when I needed another drummer, I had Jeff come in. And when I needed another bassist, I just basically forced Andrew to do it. I was like, just do it. He's like, I don't really play bass. I'm like, I'll teach you. He's become a hell.
You didn't really play bass when he was first?
No, he just started playing. He
Really?
just got way better because he just started playing with like a bunch of people.
God kills it.
Yeah, so
looks great on stage.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, he's always looked great on stage.
Yeah.
He's got the stage presence now.
That's
for
right.
Sure.
Yeah.
He's just.
You don't even need to play bass. You got that right.
Yeah. No, we just play tracks. He just fakes it. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's got like really good because he put in the time and he started playing with people and he got a lot better.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it with your friends. When your friends involved, it's almost like if you ever took up smoking in school, you did that because your friends did it, right? It's like, why not just do that with something positive like playing bass? I mean, it's like the peer pressure to get a bass.
Being in a band can be like smoking cigarettes. Right. It could end in you being broke and dead.
Right. Oh man, yeah. Let's talk about all the cons of being a musician.
Yeah, right. That was a really organic thing that happened, and so it's cool. We have a lot of fun playing together.
Yeah,
for sure.
Great. That's awesome.
And I think that's the big thing. You have to be kind of patient, and
okay.
Like in the beginning, it's okay if you kind of, are moving around different members and stuff, or trying out different people.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to be a dick about it, but I mean, I think it takes time to find the right crew for sure.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being, trying out different people, calling different people, and seeing, because you have to find the person who's available enough to commit, but also is a good fit musically and socially.
Well, I think there's so many variables that go into it. Like I've always kind of said, I should probably stop saying this so I don't make it even harder on myself to find a band. But like, it's kind of like, finding one girlfriend, right, is hard enough. Like to find that one girl that you get along with and that you want to like spend a lot of time where she's awesome, you click and you got the right kind of goals in mind. That's like hard enough. But like finding a band is like finding 5 girlfriends that not only you get along with and they get along with you, but all of those 5 girlfriends get along with all the 5 girlfriends. And like there's so many variables. It's like you got to all kind of be on the same kind of skill level. Like obviously there's a little bit of variation there, but no one can be dragging each other down. You got the personalities have to mesh, the right goals and visions. Everyone's going to be committed, have the right time. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Absolutely.
Different people, it's,
it is like being in a relationship for sure. Yeah. Because you'll have little tips with people.
Yeah. Especially in a creative setting where people that's their baby right there. You're fucking with people's babies.
Exactly. And, you know, it's just funny too, because, you know, if you really get along with someone, or you have a good rapport with them,
Yeah.
you know, even when you fight and stuff, you know, you still remain close, get even closer.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I was being a dick, bro. Yeah, bro, my bad.
That's what makes you stronger as well, though. Right?
Yeah.
Gotta go for
I mean,
it.
I do. It would be cool to have like a brother and have like an Oasis feud for forever, but
yeah,
that's still the most epic feud ever. The two Oasis brothers. Oh my God. But
you
yeah,
a big fan of Oasis then?
I like Oasis a lot. I do like them a lot. I started listening to them again recently. And I'm so infatuated with just those two.
Yeah,
they're so friggin' funny.
Definitely. With their northern accents.
Yeah, it's just you know, they're just like the two brothers are just so funny. The one who's the singer again? That's Liam, right? Liam's the singer.
Yeah.
Like, I just watched his interviews. He's just such a prick. I love it.
Oh yeah. I think one of my favorite quotes from him was when he was talking about jazz. He was like, "Jazz, it's just the most nonsense fucking thing on the planet. It's basically just 5 guys in a bar that are enjoying themselves 10 times more than the 10 people in the audience." It's fucking nonsense.
Oh my God. That is so
funny.
That is really funny.
Shout out to all the jazz players. What's up? But I know we've probably got to wrap up here in a second, man. But
you gotta give me a ride to my jam.
I do. I'll be making it there. You better let me get on stage.
Oh, dude, you're on top of the list tonight.
Yeah, I gotta get you a couple of beers too. But I really appreciate doing this. This is awesome. Like, yeah, you're such a, like, we need people like you in the scene. Like, you're holding people together. You're making bands happen, and who knows where it's going to be in like 5 years. You look back on all the bands that were formed from that jam. Like, some of them may be doing really big things. Some of them may just be having the time of their lives. Like, pretty awesome, man. I guess one last question. So this podcast is all about like, basically just finding the people that are doing things differently, right? And I think the reason why I wanted to get you on was because you're doing something different, right? You're opening up a jam session. It's different to any other jam session that I've, seen. And whenever someone's doing something different, I'm automatically like, gotta like be around that person more, because you can't really be the best at anything these days. Everyone's already done it so good, So it's like, different is the way to go. Find something different, and that's how you kind of stand out on our podcast. So what do you feel like is different about like you as a musician, maybe as a person, maybe the way you think, the way you approach music, than maybe other people that you've come across, other musicians? And I know this might kind of be hard to talk about because it's like talking about ourselves and all of that, but like, what have you noticed about maybe the way that you approach things that's different to the norm, so to speak?
I don't know. I guess I just have like a very unsatiable appetite for just putting things together, like whether it's songs, events, a group of people. I always want to kind of have my hand in something.
Right.
I guess in a way, I'm kind of a control freak in that sense. So I always like want to book my own shows, and I try to do everything. And it doesn't always work out. So it's a blessing
and a curse, right?
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. So it's something that I've been working on, where I'm like, I'm trying to outsource more often, or at least like have people I trust help me do it.
Right.
Right. Like, a good example, a good step I think that I took was having Taylor start running the list at the jam. Yeah. Because like I would just get so scatterbrained with the list that I would, because it's important to me that the jam, and this is something I should have said earlier. Yeah. One of the things I try to do with the jam is I want it to be like a 3-hour show. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I go up and I MC it. Yeah. And I try to get people moving fast, because I want people to come out. And I want them to be confused about what the hell is going on. Right. Like, they're like, what's happening? They're just like 40 bands playing tonight? Yeah. Good. Yeah, that's good. I want you to think that. Right. So, like, I think or in that sense, I don't always do things like so perfectly and methodically as much as it's kind of like a shotgun blast of like creativity, and like, I got to do this, I got to do that. Like, I want to do another event here and another event there. Yeah. So I think that's where I'm an outlier, is I really enjoy kind of making my life miserable by doing way too much and trying to have my hand in everything.
I know to say like that's a good thing, and it can also you just got to be aware. Right?
Yeah,
that's it.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I think musicians in general have known to be slightly, I guess, lazy, for lack of a better term, like doing things, but like, I mean, you know, maybe just putting a little bit more effort in and, you know, having a bit more of that drive would help some musicians. I don't know. I can't say that about all musicians. And honestly, I'm really impressed with the work ethic in Austin. I've met more kind of full-time musicians than I have in most other places, to be honest. Like, it's amazing how people are just willing to forget about money or like living a comfortable life. I just want to be a full-time musician, and they're doing it, you know. Not too bad. Like,
I think I think, you know, there's this day and age when you want to play music, you have to be you got to be creative, and you have to be crafty and figure out a way to do that while still living and eating.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%, dude. Well, Trevor, man, it's been a fucking pleasure to have you on. Thank you for letting us dive into your head. Looking forward to getting to the jam and busting out some tunes. But before we do break up, anything that you want to plug in? Obviously, Bag Lady, is it just Bag Lady on Instagram, and then Dr. Scientist? Like, is that what it is?
Bag Lady Music.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Scientist lives on Instagram. Dr. Scientist just put out a really cool live video. It's us playing our original song Daggers at WTF.
Oh.
It was a Saturday night. It was like a sold out house. It's friggin' the video came out awesome. Our buddy Aaron, he put it together. He manages a band called Post Profit, and also another band I love, Prophet Drama, among other awesome bands. But I believe his company's called Rise Up. And he put a video together for us, like a continuous shot. He was on stage running around in our faces while we were rocking out. It's really awesome. So check it out. It's on our Instagram. It's on our YouTube. The full video is on our YouTube. But check that out. And you know, if you can navigate, give Aaron a like. And he does really cool stuff around town. And we really appreciate him. And check out that video. That's what we got up right now. That's current. And we got some new music coming out soon.
Woo! Fucking love it. All right, man. Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
Let's do it.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely.